Okay, here we go on another mindless rambling rant. A lot of people ask me how I get all these things, where I find them, any number of questions. Some word of mouth, not a whole lot, and I haven't really bought a whole lot in the last 2 years, so basically Craigslist was my go-to, and most all of these came off of Craigslist. Um, it's not so much as any magic secret recipe, it's just persistence. You got to stay at it. I was looking in the morning before work. I was looking at lunchtime while I was at work, and constantly there was ones that came on. I looked at lunchtime; they were on for an hour. I got a hold of the guy, went that night and bought it. So it was 6 to 8 hours from listing to in my truck, headed to the tricycle lair. Anyway, we're gonna go off into a different patch of weeds, mainly talking about this cause of frustration right here and how it found me. I didn't find it; it found me. Has a lot to do with this book, not this exact book. I've had my hands on 3 of these. 2 of them I own, one I did not. But it all goes back. A local shop owner where we lived, he worked at a Honda dealer for quite a while, and then he broke off and went out on his own. He started his own shop, and he worked there quite a number of years, up through the late 80s or early 90s into the 2000s. And in 15, he was diagnosed with cancer in November, and I believe sometime in the new year, he passed away. He didn't make it, but 4 or 5 months after the diagnosis. As it turned out, they had an auction and sold all his possessions. At this auction, he had a massive stack, one of these books that I was very interested in, but he had the old green Honda binders that the dealers had, and he had all kinds of service manuals, shop manuals, literature, stuff like that, along with tools and shop equipment, some bikes that he inherited along the way or whatnot, parts, inventory. Big auction. So there was a guy that seemed to be buying a lot of the three-wheeler stuff and the older stuff, and I went over and was talking to him a little bit and got to know him a little bit. We'll call him Finley. And I was showing him my belt buckle, and he was all impressed and whatnot. And this book came up for sale, and I ran the bid up, and so did he, and he wound up getting it. And but we kind of made a contact there. I gave him one of my cards, and time went on. So I should have wrote the dates down before I started this video. I'm not even sure what year that was. That was probably 2016, I would say. Disappeared, and then I saw him again at some local swap meets, and I said, "Hey buddy, how you doing? What's going on?" Typical stuff. He recognized me because of my belt buckle, and he's a major buyer and seller here. He used to be a little more local. He's a little less local to me now, and as it turned out, probably in 2017, 2018, a buddy of mine was going to buy a LT, we'll call him steering wheel holder. So steering wheel holder is going to buy this LT230E, one of them ugly Suzukis with the racks on it. Electric start, not a sport model, utility model. And he sends me a picture of this, basically from this angle right here. And I'm looking at the brake drum, and the brake's on the wrong side, and it's leading axle. And it just, nothing made sense. And I said, what in the world is that hack job? Well, it just so happened the next day was a swap meet, and Finley was at the swap meet. And I go over and we're talking three-wheelers, and he goes, "Yeah, I got this really cool prototype three-wheeler, and I've been talking to Mickey Dunlap about it." And he said, "I'm pretty sure it was a Honda piece. It's got the 2-piece aluminum 3-bolt wheels." And he said, "But the engine's really weird." He said, "It's got a different type of flywheel stator cover." He said, "He's got a Bassani exhaust on it." And he's telling me the whole story about how it was ice raced and all the stuff I outlined in some of the other videos I did. And I was like, wait a minute. My buddy was just down at a place, and he goes, "Yeah, my business partner just sold that Suzuki. Here, him and this other, Finley and this other fellow were in business together, sold this Suzuki to my buddy's steering wheel holder. And he sends me a picture of this at Finley's shop, and the next day I'm talking to Finley about this." So that was August. January, another swap meet comes up, and I see him down there, and he has this there. Now he's got 400EX wheels on the back, and he's got the stockers stacked up next to it, and he's got it there at the swap meet to sell. And millions of people walk by. I checked it out. I was looking at it, skeptical, obviously. I didn't have nearly the amount of research done I do now. And nobody wanted to pay for it. It went an entire year. I got his number there. You know what? I don't think I did give him one of my cards at that auction. I don't think I even had cards at the time. But I got his number at the swap meet, and I said, I'm interested in that. And I let it go. And the next January rolled around, and it still hadn't sold yet. He said, nope, nobody wants to pay up for it. And he was really not asking a lot. He was asking going rate for a Gen 1 250R at the time. He wasn't asking stupid money. I actually paid the same for this as I did for the 81. So as it turns out, the entire year passed by, and Finley is at the January swap meet again. And I said, how you making out with the prototype? Well, nobody wants to pay for it. I don't know. He said, I don't mind owning it. It ain't eating nothing. It ain't costing nothing to sit in the shop. I said, I think I'll be down to get it. So that was January of 19. So March, I called him up. I said, hey, I want to come get this thing. He said, alrighty. Gave me his address. I met him down there at his a barn that he rented out where he stored a lot of bikes that he had for sale in inventory. And I bought it, brought it home, put it in my storage unit. He said the fuel system was probably bad. They had run it the previous year, put the 400EX wheels on the back. They swapped hubs and everything just to ride it. And that's when he told me that the flywheel had 2 keyways in it and some of the other anomalous things that are wrong with it. He didn't get as deep into seeing like a difference in the motor mounts and down at the bottom of the forks or the brake caliper bolts are different and whatnot. I did all that later, but he did talk to Mickey Dunlap, and he got the whole story how it was ice raced in Wisconsin, and most of the background information, how it got to where it was close enough to me to drive to him to buy it, and it all worked out, I guess you would say. But here we are, all these years later. This was an ongoing thing. It started in probably 2016 when. Just by happenstance, my buddy's steering wheel holder was down there checking out a quad, and my buddy Finley were in the same building and didn't even know it. Neither one of them knew they knew me. And this one, quite literally, I tell people, it found me, because if steering wheel holder hadn't have sent me the picture of it, and then I hadn't have bumped into Finley the next day, who knows where it would have ended up, and it might have ended up getting trashed or destroyed, or somebody just out riding it in the woods, folding it all up, blowing the motor up, who knows. So now it's being well preserved here in the secret underground tricycle vault lair. So that's a little history on this one. A lot of people like hearing me yammer on about this stuff. I'm not sure why, but hey, it's all good. I love talking about it. But like I said, this book was a very integral part of me buying this prototype, and this book is really cool, but kind of ticks me off. It was the first shot I had to buy one, and he run the bid up because he was serious. Them guys that are always buying and selling, they got a wad of cash that would choke a horse. So, but I mean, just some really cool accessory knowledge. And I was flipping through the book at the auction, and they were selling the other Honda line binders. And they were like, yeah, we got a service manual here. And then the guy holds this up and goes, 3-wheeler and 4-wheeler, 86, 7 accessory catalog. All kind of accessories. And gave a 3-minute description of this one, while all the other binders were Honda manual. A 2-word description. And here the guy goes on writing a novel about how this book should be worth a lot. And it went for a lot. So and actually, here's a little side story. We'll get off into the weeds on this story. A local dealer buddy of mine who I reference in some of my other videos, he had one of these, obviously being a dealer, and I ran down there the next Saturday and told him what the book at the auction where I met Finley sold for, and I said, I'll give you that much for yours. He went right to the back room, grabbed it, come out, I gave him the cash, and I brought this little nugget home with me that very day. So I missed one on Saturday. 7 days later, I had one in my possession, and I did pay up for it, but I don't mind. That dealer buddy of mine has really taken care of me. He's a super knowledgeable, super cool guy. You almost can't keep up with him when he starts getting to talking about Hondas and all the different ones. They've been a Honda dealer since 1960, And I believe he's 66. So if Honda built it, he knows about it, he's worked on it, and he could probably tell you all the weak failure points and the recalls, and I mean, it's just amazing. So he takes super good care of me. Super cool guy to talk to, hang out with. I go down there a couple Saturdays a month, and I hate to hold him up because he's probably got stuff to do, but it's always a good time down there, and I didn't mind paying up for this because he's taking good care of me, like I said. So that's the story on the prototype and how this little catalog, or one like it, was basically how the prototype found me. It's all about making connections out there in the three-wheeler world, in the ATV world. I've had people come up to me at Motorama and try to sell me their three-wheelers, and some of them I've bought. So, you know, like I said, it's not so much about me finding them, it's the equipment finding its way to the underground tricycle vault. We'll highlight some more units in the coming days here, and I'll get videos up. Any of them that have a cool backstory like that kind of crosses over, and different people, different places, different cool fun facts. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot.